I'm Josie, and I make baskets out of old fishing rope that I find washed up on the beaches of the West Coast. And I'm here today at the Maker's Workshop, which is where I work sometimes.
So, you've got a lot of rope here, Josie. Where did you get the rope from?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, it does all come, mostly comes from the West Coast. It's this generous pile here came from one lady who collects it for me near Sundown Point. That's super costly, if I'm allowed to mention that. And other friends collect it for me near Narrawong, and I try and get down to the West Coast myself to collect it too.
So, this is all waste from fishing boats?
It is, and I don't actually know a lot about the fishing industry, but I know now that they have lots of different ropes, and obviously different colours for different purposes and different thicknesses, and yeah, there's so much out there. It's kind of sad. I have mixed feelings when I find, because it's like, nice new rope to work with, but it's plastic and it's in the ocean, it's doing damage.
And what gave you the idea to make baskets?
I learnt to make baskets years ago from a book that my mum brought home one day, and it was about making baskets from plant materials that you could find in the garden or in the bush. And so I'd learnt to make baskets that way. And I just was walking on the West Coast with a friend one day, and we collected rubbish on our way back, and all the rope bundled together, just the textures and the colours kind of made me go, ooh. And I had seen another lady incorporate rope into her basket, so I guess the idea was there, and then it sat around in my shed for a few years, and then I thought, I'll get to it. And so I started, and a friend who has a shop in Stanley said, you should make some for my shop. So I did, and then they sold, so I kept making, and here I am, years later, still making lots.
And you make different types of baskets?
I do. They kind of all are functional. I don't sort of get too out there, although sometimes I do. As you can see, there's one here that looks like it's got a party hat on. But yeah, often a small bowl or a vase type shape. Yeah.
Now, Josie, I know, but this is not the first time that you have made things out of waste.
No, I studied visual art in Launceston at UTAS. I started in 2000, and I did my Bachelor of Contemporary Art, it was called. And then I did an honours year, and in my honours year they said choose something that you're passionate about that you won't get bored with throughout the year. So I'm like, oh, okay. So I thought, I like making stuff out of rubbish. And so my whole honours project was using things like bread tags and bottle tops and pill packets, all sorts of plastic rubbish, basically. Yeah, so I spent the year doing that and ended up doing really well with that and enjoyed myself. So I guess I've always had this creativity that wants to make stuff, and I love the idea of making something out of something that's considered waste, because I see it as a resource, not as waste. Yeah.
Reuse.
Yeah.
So you're in the middle of making a basket there.
I am. So my technique is a stitched basket. I'm not weaving, I'm stitching. And they all start in the centre, and here's one I just started earlier. It's kind of like an embryo of a basket. So they start off with a small centre, and then as I stitch it, it grows around and around and around. And yeah, as you can see, this one is just starting to come up the sides, and they sometimes have a mind of their own. I'm not quite sure where it's going to end up yet. Yeah.
And what do you use to stitch it together?
So my stitching thread, I have a collection here. It's all come out of the rope. Some ropes down the centre of the rope, you can find all these single fibres. It's kind of like fishing line, just single fibres, monofilament I think it's called. And in a rope like this one, which is 3-stranded rope, also down the centre of one strand there's a bunch of fibres that haven't had any wear and tear like the outside fibres have. So I can pull out the centre, separate out the fibres, and there's my stitching material. So they really are 100% recycled rubbish off the beach. Yeah.
Fantastic.
And I do wash it. I get it home from the beach, I rinse it off, I leave it out to dry, it gets rained on and then it dries again. But it's still, I still leave a trail of sand everywhere I go, sand and little fibres. And this is a good example of why it's so bad that this stuff is in the ocean, because those plastic fibres, they're not biodegradable, but they do degrade. They break down into smaller and smaller pieces. So yeah, I'm doing my little bit, but it's only really scratching on the surface, really.
So obviously this is mainly from commercial fishermen. But if there are people out there that go fishing recreationally and have fishing line and stuff, what do you suggest they do?
Well, I guess if you're tying a fishing line and you trim a little bit off, it might seem insignificant, this little bit of fishing line, but it's a bit of plastic that some critter might come and eat or get tangled in. So don't throw it away. Stick it in your pocket, take it home, put it in the bin. If you see rubbish lying around, take it with you. I just don't understand the mentality that people have, that they think it's okay to just chuck it. I really don't. So if that's you, just don't.
And also, their fish that they catch next time they're out fishing might have consumed some fishing line or ropes, or they may be presenting it on their dinner plate sometime soon.
It's a scary thing, actually. The smaller and smaller the particles of plastic get, it actually ends up in the fish's flesh, and then we eat the fish. And so we're actually, I think I read recently that we're actually consuming plastic in our food because of the small particles. So I think we've created a bit of a problem that's gotten a bit too big before we're doing anything about it. So I hope that more and more people are realising now the problem that we've created, and that we start to find solutions and alternatives to plastic everything.
Is there anything else that you've ever thought about making out of this rope?
Well, using my basket techniques, I have made a light shade, and I'd like to do more of those. I am yet to try making a doormat using a Celtic knot type weave rather than stitching. So I've got a few ideas on the go, but haven't actually done that. I've seen other people do all sorts of things with fishing rope. It's not just me out there doing it. There's a few other artists who create baskets, or who make wall hangings or sculptures and things. Yeah. There's one other thing I heard, that people were turning it into 3D printing rods, melting it down and reconstituting it into the rods that get fed into a 3D printer. So, yeah, again, seeing it as a resource rather than just rubbish.
That can be turned into anything.
Yeah. Mind you, I don't know how they get around all the bits of sand and seaweed and shells that are stuff.
So do you have any advice for people that may find some rope? Would you like them to give you a call and donate to your rope collection?
Sure. You could track me down through the Maker's Workshop if you wanted to bring it to me, or if you want to get making rope baskets yourself. There's some great books, and I'm sure there'll be videos on YouTube if you wanted to learn how to. It's quite a simple technique once you get going. Or maybe you'll hear about me doing workshops again one day, and you can come and learn from me.
That's right, Josie has been to Circular Head and done some workshops as part of Adult Learners Week and the Charts Festival. So she may be back soon.
I did used to live there.
Yes.